to share the story on when I had a rapture dream about 5.5 years ago when I had just became a Christian. And I had freshly turned 15 years old. This was back in 2020, and I'd converted from Islam to Christianity. And I asked the Lord 2 questions, which were questions I really wanted answers on. It was what language we were going to speak in heaven and how we were going to hear the 7 trumpets. And even though it's over 5 years ago I had this dream, I can remember it as if it was yesterday. So I'm in this mall, and it was a very big mall, and I walk into this store, and outside of the store there's families, children, mothers, etc. I walk into the store, and it's just like a completely normal store, whatever. So I go through the aisles and the stuff, and it just looks completely normal. In the store there's mothers with their children, store employees, whatever, you name it. And then I go to this one aisle where there were like demonic costumes and like Halloween costumes and full of like demonic horns and all of that stuff. And I just got a very nasty and wicked vibe as soon as I walked into that aisle. And then I hear the trumpets in my ears, and it was just as if it was in your own head, and it silenced all other thoughts you had in your mind. So you couldn't hear your own voice in your head. You couldn't hear anything besides the trumpet. It was as if you had AirPods inside of your brain. So then I immediately turn around while I hold my hands over my ears like this, because the sound was so loud. And I see that everyone else in the store and outside of the store also is holding their hands on their head like that. And I see the mothers running around in despair because they couldn't find their children. All of the children in sight had just vanished. They had disappeared. And then I see this one mother whom I saw when I first walked into the store. I see her in front of me, and she just became like dust. Have you seen that Avengers Infinity War when they all just become like dust? It was something like this. And I forgot to mention that the second I touched the demonic clothing in that aisle, that's when I heard the trumpets play in my ears. So nevertheless, I turned around, and as I mentioned, I saw this mother turning into dust, and I ran through her because she had just disappeared with the wind. I ran through her and outside of the store, and then I look down on my fingers, and I see those 3 fingers. I see them slowly disappearing. They burned away and then became ash and then became dust that was just flying upwards. And the fear I felt in my heart, it's indescribable. I had never felt anything like that in my life. It was like something, a spear piercing through your chest, and then you just feel the pain all the way down to the bottom of your feet. So I look at my fingers, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because I thought, I'm Christian, I'm saved. So I quote Romans 10:9 word for word, bar for bar, when I didn't even know that verse. I barely even knew the Bible at that point. And at that point, everyone around me, all the people, it was packed in that mall, everyone was gone. It was not a single soul in sight. So I look up to the sky and I say, if you declare with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. So that's Romans 10:9. And then suddenly everything became dark. Everything became dark. And when I opened my eyes, I was in heaven. I opened my eyes, and I'm sitting at this table, and I immediately knew that I was in a waiting place, a waiting room. And this is the best part. I wanted to describe what I saw. So first of all, it smelled extremely good there. I saw colors I had never ever seen in my life, and I don't remember the colors now, but I saw them in my dreams. And I remember I was sitting at this table, and it was an Indian person in front of me. It was an Australian person sitting right beside me, and at the other end, it was an American sitting there. So it was a table of 4, and at our table, it was packed with food. So I remember looking up, and I saw that there was thousands of tables. I couldn't see the end that way and going that way. So I remember turning around, and I saw all those tables going that way as well. And it was 4 persons sitting on each table. And I remember looking to my left, and I saw a water fountain going down. And I remember looking down at it, and I couldn't see the end of the water fountain. And it was like, I don't know, it was so beautiful. And I felt a peace I had never felt in my life. Like, it felt so good. Now to the language part. In heaven, I remember the man that was sitting in front of me, he was from India. He spoke Indian to me, but I understood every word he said as if he were speaking my mother's tongue or English to me in my head. I could comprehend everything he said as if he was speaking in my language. And then I remember I replied to him in English. And I turned around and I asked the Australian man, "What are we waiting for?" And the Australian man, I remember he was saying like this. He turned around, he looked at me, and he said, "We're waiting on him." And then he went back to his discussion with the American, and I immediately knew that these two, the American and the Australian, had been waiting there for a long time. They had been sitting at this table for a long time, but me and this Indian, we had just arrived there. And I remember that I was looking over my shoulder, and I saw this extremely tall tree door. I couldn't find a picture, so I just drew this, but it was something like this, and it was like 100 feet tall with silver linings. So as I was looking at the door and grasping the seriousness of the situation, that's when the dream ended. And I woke up and I was so happy because of where I had just been. But yeah, that was my rapture dream. I hope this will reach the person that needs to hear it. Please pray about it. Ask God for discernment. Ask the Holy Spirit to guide you. And yeah, I also recently found out why I was turning into dust in the first place. It was because of my lack of faith and trust in the Lord. So yeah, that's a topic for another video, but God bless y'all.